Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF Hayomi, Bava Kamma DAF Chaf Hey. We begin at the Mishnah, which is down on Chav Daled Amud Beis, around 10 lines from the bottom. So in the Mishnah back on DAF Tes Vav, we had a list of various mu'adim, actually 5 cases which are considered mu'ad, for which the owner is fully responsible. One of which was Shoir Hamazik B'Rishus HaNizak. Okay, so an animal caused damage in the Rishus, in the territory, in the victim's property. So there he pays Nezek Shalem, even though we're speaking about something unusual, right? He gored, some aggressive, behavior. But since it took place in the Rishus HaNizak, he's called a muad. You pay Nezek Shalom. So Ketzad, let's have some examples. Nogach, he gored with his horns. Nogaf, he shoved with his body. Noshach, he bit. Rabat, he crouched on something and crushed it. Bat, he kicked. It depends where. B'Rishus HaRabim, if it happened in the street, he's just, a tam, not known to be an aggressive animal. Mashalom Chatzi Nezek, the owner pays 50%. But if it took place B'Rishus HaNizak, that's our topic, B'Rishus HaNizak. So actually it's a machlekes. Rabbi Tarfon Eimer, you pay fully, Nezek Shalom. So the halakha changes because it took place in Rishus HaNizak, and we're going to see in a minute it's based on a kal v'chomer. They say no difference where it took place, whether in the street, whether in his private yard. You pay chatzi nezek until you become habitualized and it becomes regular behavior. Amalem Rabbi Tarfon, he turned to the Chacham. I'll prove my point. Uma b'makim shehekel ala shein v'ala regel. We have a situation where the Torah applies a leniency, a kula. If an animal eats or steps on something while walking, shein v'regel, right? If it happens b'Rishus HaRabim in the street, he has a right to go there, full right to be there. We learn from a pasuk which says ubir b'stei acher. These things are only liable if it took place in the victim's territory. So if it took place b'Rishus HaRabim in the street, shu pater, right? You're totally exempt. So it has that downside, right? Despite that downside, we have an upside as well. Hechmer alein b'Rishus HaNizak l'shalom nezek shalom. But if these same activities, shein v'regel, take place in Rishus HaNizak, you pay fully. So in the street it's nothing. In Rishus HaNizak it's 100%. So it goes from 0 to 100. Certainly, of course, by Keren, where you pay something in the street, Chatzi Nezek, certainly goes up to 100% if it's in Rishus HaNizak. Mokim shehechmer ala Keren b'Rishus HaRabim l'shalom Chatzi Nezek. We have a situation like Keren, where if it takes place in the street, you still pay 50% if it's a tam. Of course, Einoy Din, doesn't it make sense? Shenachmer Allah b'Rishus HaNizak l'shalom nezek shalom. If it takes place in Rishus HaNizak, you go up to 100%. If you can go from 0 to 100, you certainly go from 50 to 100. So that's how I got to my point. Says Rabbi Tarfon that even a Keren Tama pays 100% in Rishus HaNizak. Amr Loi, the Chacham responded, you have a solid kal v'chomer, but there is a formula that we have to follow whenever we present a kal v'chomer. It's called dayoy, which is actually the buzzword, so to speak, of today's sugya. Dayoy, sufficient, enough. You're limited. Dayoy lavay min hadin. When something is derived from a din, from a kal v'chomer, it can't exceed in value, in importance, in severity to the source material that he's learning from. It can't be greater than that source material. And since this kal v'chomer is based on what? We're saying, well, certainly Keren, which is chayiv 50% in the street, is chayiv in Rishus HaNizak as well. 1 second. You're basing it on Rishus HaRabim. That's the sort of the jump off point, right? So we have to compare it to the source. Ma b'Rishus HaRabim chatzi nezek, right? Keren Rishus HaRabim provides sort of the springboard. So we have to compare it to the Rishus HaRabim, which is chatzi nezek. Af Rishus HaNizak chatzi nezek. Likewise, if Keren takes place in Rishus HaNizak, you pay 50%. You can't go up from 50 to 100. Amar Lahem, so, Rabbi Tarfon says, look, okay, I'm not going to argue this point. The Gemara actually goes into a bigger discussion about this, but let's just stick to your, let me relate to your wavelength, so to speak, right? Amar Lahem, Rabbi Tarfon responds, even if we do have to apply this concept called dayai, so derivative can't be greater than the source. Okay, let's say. But still, let's rearrange the Kal V'chomer in a manner which will circumvent this issue. Okay? Instead of Karen and Rishus Ram being the springboard for Karen and Rishus Hanizik, which creates this sort of equation, I'm not going to learn one Karen from the other. I'm going to arrange the Kal V'chomer in a manner where I'm learning Karen and Rishus Hanizik is Nedak Shalim from the fact that Shein V'regel in Rishus Hanizik is Nedak Shalim. Listen to this. So it's basically the same, we're heading to the same goal, but via a slightly different route, which avoids this dayoi issue. We find that Shein V'regel is Pater Rishus Rab. Still, Hechmer B'Keren, but Keren in the street is Chayiv. So in this street, in Rishus Rab, where Shein V'regel is Pater, Keren is somewhat Chayiv, Chatzi Nezek. Certainly, of course, in Rishus Hanizik, Mokim Shehechmer Al Shein V'regel Rishus Hanizik. Let's go over to Rishus Hanizik. Shein V'regel over there is fully responsible. Certainly, of course, Einoi Din Shenachmer B'Keren. Of course, Keren should be fully responsible. So now it's based on the fact that Shein V'regel is Chayiv Rishus Hanizik, and there it's 100%. So Keren likewise 100%. Derivative is exactly like the source. But still, the Chacham say, look, you can rearrange the Kal V'chomer in all different ways, but ultimately, if not for the fact that Keren would be Chayiv Chatzi Nezek in the street, you wouldn't have this whole, formula. So ultimately, it is rooted in the fact that Keren is Chayiv in the street, and how much is the Chayiv in the street Chatzi Nezek? You can't go past that. You can't be Mechayiv, you can't obligate a Keren Rishus Hanizik more than 50%. Amrloi Dayo, love him, and Adin is Kanida, in the same idea, the derivative can be greater than the source. Ma B'Rishus Ram Chatzi Nezek, just like Keren in the street is 50%. Ahaf, likewise, B'Rishus Hanizik, it's also going to be Chatzi Nezek. But it would seem that Rabbi Tarfon wasn't really concerned with this whole Dayoi situation. For Rabbi Tarfon, Leslie Dayoi, he doesn't hold of Dayoi. Fact of the matter is, he had no problem generating a halacha greater than the source. Right? This idea of Dayoi is based on the Torah. It's sourced in the pasuk. The Sanya, we have a pasuk, a brisa that discusses the sugya of Miriam Hanaviah, who spoke about Moshe Rabbeinu, and ultimately she suffered when she was afflicted with tzara'as, and she had to stay out of town for 7 days. The Sanya, Midin Kal V'chomer Ketzad. We have a brisa in it's called Brisa Rabbi Shmuel, which gives us a listing of all the different formulas. Rashi says Yud Gimel Midas Shatar and Dreshus Behem. 13 formulas, one of which is the Kal V'chomer. Where do we find Kal V'chomer in the Torah? Midin Kal V'chomer Ketzad. Vayemer Hashem al Moshe. Hashem tells Moshe, V'avia Yoraik Yorat B'faneo. Imagine Miriam's father would have spat in her face, would have embarrassed her. Haloi to call him Shivas Yom, she would have embarrassed, she would have been secluded for 7 days. Right? That would have happened, even if it would have been a person that insulted her. She would have sort of backed out, stayed away, stayed out of the community for 7 days to atone for whatever it is that she, deserved, right? Certainly, if Hashem's Kavayachal has there's some sort of issue there, and there's an einish that is deserved. So certainly, you stay out for 14 days. 7 days is between people, and certainly if it pertains to Hashem, for whom we have much greater honor, certainly the consequence is a 14-day quarantine. So it goes from 7 to 14. This is a Kal V'chomer. So really, it should be 14, but it can't be. Once again, this idea that you can't generate, a halacha greater than the source. Daya lovim and adin liyus kenidoin. And if by Aviyah it's 7 days, by Shechina it's also 7 days. It's a Bryce and Teres Koyanim. We don't seem to have any, anybody disagreeing with this Bryce. So it's based on a pasuk. Says the Gemara, you're right. Ki lesle daya. You know when Rabbi Tarfon sort of ignores the daya concept? Where if you apply the daya, it renders the entire kal v'chomer pointless and useless. Such as by the halacha in our Mishnah. To prove that Karen pays 50% in Rosh Hashanah, guess what? It's obvious. It's simple. You don't need a kal v'chomer from that. It's no worse than the street. So if we would limit it to chatzi nezek, then you could just toss out the entire kal v'chomer. It's pointless. So you can't apply daya if it's going to render the kal v'chomer pointless. Evidently, in this case, we ignore daya, we suspend daya, and we allow the kal v'chomer, to generate a halacha which is greater than the source. In this case, it's keren b'shus hanizak nezek shalom. Heicha the limit for kal v'chomer. But certainly in a case where kal v'chomer does not get affected by a daya, we can have the kal v'chomer and daya, and they're both, beautifully compatible with each other. Islay daya, of course. Even Rabbi Tarfon agrees to apply daya. For instance, in the case of Miriam, Hassam, over there, Shiva de Shechina like Sibi. There is no source, there's no mention in Torah anywhere that when there's Shechina upset at you, you have to stay away for 7 days. It doesn't say anywhere. So how does one know how to behave when he encounters this type of circumstance? Oh, so kal v'chomer, I see. Abresa. So kal v'chomer comes along and says, look, if it happened with your father, you stay away for 7 days. Out of shame, out of embarrassment, out of deference to the father. Certainly by the Shechina, it should be 14. So without the kal v'chomer, you would know nothing. So it took it from 0 to 14. Comes the kal v'chomer and says, you know what? Bang it down to 7. Also, Daya Apik Shiva took out 7, Uki Shiva left 7 behind. So the kal v'chomer is still in existence, even though you limited it through the daya. Again, without the kal v'chomer, you would know nothing. What do we do by Shechina? Nothing. I don't know. So we have a kal v'chomer from the father. Father of 7. Well, Shechina is certainly 14. Daya says, no, bring it down to 7. But the kal v'chomer has still generated some halacha, still taught us something. Back to our Mishnah. Oh, the Gemara explains that. Back to our Mishnah with the chatzi nezek, the nezek shalom. Halacha chatzi nezek siv. The pasuk clearly says that when a shor is negeach, you pay 50%, whether it happened in the street or anywhere. Right? So you already know that if it happens in chatzar nizak, you pay 50%. Without a kal v'chomer, but also kal v'chomer. So what do you need a kal v'chomer for? Kal v'chomer comes and says, "I see chatzi nezek adds another 50%." Well, if 50% in the street, it's only 100%. If it's in Shus HaNizak, v'nasa nezek shalom, it turns into 100%. So now we dash as daya. If you apply the daya to bang it back down to limit it to 50%, you've undone the entire kal v'chomer, if it's like kal v'chomer. So everybody agrees. Typically applied daya, but Rabbi Tarfon holds that that's only provided the kal v'chomer still stands and still has purpose. So in the case of the Shechina, of course, it makes sense to apply daya, but not in the case of the keren b'shus hanizak. Rabbanan respond, Shiva de Shechina ksivi. Tisager Shivas Yom. They hold you can't differentiate between Miriam and the case of the animal of the keren, because you're saying that the kal v'chomer there is being refuted. In the case of the keren, kal v'chomer is being refuted if we apply the daya. But in the case of the Miriam, the kal v'chomer would be generating some knowledge, even with applying the daya to it, because without the pasuk and the kal v'chomer, we wouldn't know anything about what happens when the Shechina gets upset at you. So the kal v'chomer there is teaching you something. even though you're limiting it to 7 days because of the daya. Rabbanan disagree. No, Rabbanan shiva de shchina ksivi. We don't need a kavach chaymer to teach you what to do when the shchina gets upset. Of course, you're locked out for 7 days. Tisager shivas yom. We have the other part of the pasuk which says clearly that you get quarantined for 7 days when the shchina is upset at you, right? So, bottom line is, even without the kavach chaymer, you already know that it's a 7-day period. So now the kavach chaymer comes and tells you 14. That's all it's telling you. It's going from 7 to 14, and now if we apply dayoy back to 7, you've obliterated the kavach chaymer and rendered it useless. So apparently, even in that type of circumstance, you apply dayoy. That's a Chacham's approach. So sort of back and forth. Rabbi Tarfon responds, no. How to sager? This pasuk to sager shivas yom. Actually, the dashin dayu is coming to tell you about dayu. So the starting point is like this: father gets upset. It's a 7-day punishment. Comes the kavach chaymer now and says, well, when shchina is involved, it's only 14. Comes the pasuk to sager shivas yom. You should know dayu. This is where we learn dayu from. No, it's only 7 days. Rabbanan respond, Ksiv Krachrina. Rabbanan used the pasuk to Soga Shivas Yamim to tell you the basic halacha that when shchina is involved, it's a 7-day punishment. How did they know dayoy? A different pasuk. Ksiv Krachrina. But the Soga Miriam, pasuk says there that she went away for 7 days. So we see that ultimately it was only a 7-day punishment. So what does Rabbi Tarfon do with that pasuk, which seems to be an extra pasuk? To teach us that the dayoy concept applies everywhere, not just in the case of Miriam. Don't say it was just a very specific, reason. In this case, because of the cover, out of honor to Moshe Rabbeinu, because they davened to protect Miriam. So that's why Hashem sort of limited it to 7 days. But typically, when we have a kavach chaymer, we don't necessarily say dayoy. That's what the pasuk says. It's a saga Miriam. It's a repetition to tell you, no. Every kavach chaymer must conform to dayoy. Okay, so bottom line is like this. All seem to hold to the concept of dayoy. It's based on a pasuk, a brisa. The only thing is Rabbi Tarfon holds that a dayoy cannot obliterate a kavach chaymer. The only way we can apply dayoy if we still have some sort of accomplishment through the kavach chaymer. But if it sort of renders the kavach chaymer useless and pointless, then we ignore dayoy. Rather, we prop up the kavach chaymer. Such as in the case of the shor hamazik, b'shus hanizik. Karen pays chatzin nezik in the street, or shus hanizik, makes no difference. So now we have a kavach chaymer. Evidently, the kavach chaymer is telling you lift it up, upgrade him. Karen b'shus hanizik is nezik shal. And we do this despite the fact that it's sort of going against the dayoy formula. So we're assuming that every Tana holds of dayoy, some way or another. Tana, I'll find you a Tana who does not subscribe to dayoy, even though it does not negate the kavach chaymer. He just does not hold of dayoy, this sign. Keri bezav minayim. So you have a man who's a zav, who experienced an emission of a very specific liquid, which made him tummy. And then he saw a different type of liquid, which is keri. So we know that the ziva, the actual liquid, is mitame, whether by touching it or by lifting it, mago b'masa. What happens to the keri material, which it was produced by a zav? Does it also have the same severity, that it's going to transfer tumah through touching or through carrying it? This is keri b'zav minan. How do we know that it's so? That a zav's keri has the same tumah as the zoiv. It's mitame b'magu b'mas. V'dinu, it's based on a kavach chaymer. Ma tor. Since we find that saliva, which is tahar, nothing wrong with it, b'tahar, if it is produced by a person who's tahar, no problem. Still, that same type of saliva, that same type of material, tamei, is considered tamei. B'tamei if it comes from a zav. That's the halacha, that a zav spits, his saliva is metame. So certainly, of course, Thu May, something which is has the properties of tumah, such as the keri liquid, bitar, even if it's emitted by a person who's tar, but the keri is tummy. And then certainly this same type of material, she tummy betame, should be considered fully tummy when it's produced by a person who's tummy. And therefore we say that a keri coming from a zav is mitami b'maga u'b'masa, become ma'isi lo bein l'maga bein l'masa. And based on Kavach Chaimer, we're going to apply the tumas maga and masa to the keri produced by a zav. The question is why? The keri of a ordinary person is not mitami b'maga u'b'masa. It's just mitami b'maga, by direct contact. So how do you know that the keri material coming from a zav carries both properties of tumah, maga and mas? V'amai neima hani Kavach Chaimer l'maga. Let's apply diet. We should say the Kavach Chaimer teaches us that the substance is mitame b'maga, just like if it would be produced by a regular person, which is the basis for the Kavach Chaimer, right? Ahani dayu lafuki masa. But you can't go past maga, otherwise you're running into daya. You can't have the derivative, in this case the keri from a zav, be more severe than the source material, which is the keri of an adon tar. Perhaps you'll say, the reason why we ignore daya is because otherwise there's no point to the Kavach Chaimer. As we said before, otherwise you don't need any Kavach Chaimer to tell you that the keri of a zav is mitame b'maga. That's basics. Lagara megaver tar, no worse than a tar who produced keri. So that's obvious. That's baseline. And if we have a Kavach Chaimer, apparently it's coming to upgrade it to masa. That's why we ignore the daya. Well, says the Gemara, who says? Who says that's baseline? Who says that's understood? Maybe we need a Kavach Chaimer for basics as well. In this case, Istrich, Sagat Tachmin, perhaps I would say, Mikra Lailuksiv. In the Torah, in describing Tumas Keri, says it happened as a happenance at night. So perhaps we'll learn like this. This whole concept that the keri is metami is only if the keri experience caused him tumah. He's an ordinary person, a regular tar, who became a bal keri. So he has this halach. Yotza zeh she'en keri yigarim lei. As opposed to a zav, who's no longer reliant on keri to become tummy. He's already tummy regardless. He's tummy because of something else. So perhaps he doesn't have the same halacha. Kamashmon. And that's why the pasuk has to come tell you, based on the Kavach Chaimer, that his keri is mitami b'maga. But who says you have to go past maga? Well, what do we find in the pasuk? Only because of keri is tummy, not because of something else. Who says it makes any difference? So bottom line is, any person who sees keri, that keri is mitami b'maga. Why do we need a Kavach Chaimer now? Evidently to upgrade it, to give it added severity, that the keri of a zav is mitame magu b'masa, and therefore we don't have the luxury to apply daya in this case, because otherwise there's no Kavach Chaimer. Okay, continues the Gemara. Uman tana de shamas le de amar. Where do you find a tana that holds shichva zera shel zav mitame b'masa? That in fact the keri shichva zera is the same material of a zav is mitame not only b'maga but also b'masa, which is a more severe form of tumah, even by indirect association. Let's find a name. Let's put a name to the face. Lo Rebbe Lezer, Rebbe Shua. It can't be either of these. This non. We have a mission. Shichva zera shel zav. This material of the zav mitame b'maga and mitame b'masa. There you go. The Rebbe Lezer. That can't be. So it's not Rebbe Lezer. Rebbe Shua mitame b'masa. You should know it carries potential for tumas masa as well. You know why? Because the shichva zera, the keri, inevitably has some mix, some remnants, some, droplets of ziva material, because it's coming from the same area. So bottom line is, it's really not metame b'masa. It's only because of the other content within it. Ad kan l'kam Rabbi Shua hasam. Even over there, Rabbi Shua is just saying because of the droplets. Without that element, well, it would not be metame b'masa. So evidently, these two Tanoim do not hold of this shita that that the keri, the shichva zera of Ezav is metame b'masa. So who is he? Elahai Tano. Listen, Lamala Mehen. We have a Mishnah at the beginning of Maseches Kelim. We have sort of almost the highest forms of tumah, which is called the Ava Tumah, Asheret, Shichva Zera, Thu May, and all these are only metame b'maga. what is considered a category higher than these that are matame even b'masa l'malaman? Zav yeshal zav. There you go. The ziva of a zav. V'roika yaspit v'shichva zaroi. Umemi raglav. His urine, v'damanida, damavanida. All these are matame b'mimag b'masa. They have the highest form of tumah. So you see that the shichva zera of a zav is matame b'masa. Well, says Mahus says it's by its own right. Maybe here as well. It's because of that mix-up. Maybe because it has these droplets of ziva within it. And Cain, if that would be the reason, it wouldn't. The Mishnah would not list it in this order. It goes from ziva to roik to shivcha zera. It would put zoiv and shivcha zera together because it's associated. The reason why shivcha zera is done because of the ziva within it. It wouldn't separate it. It wouldn't go zoiv and then roik and shivcha zera. There's a deeper meaning behind the order. In Cain, if that would be the case, it would put zera with zoiv together because it's all the same, reason. Why did we put roik and then shivcha zera? Because of this reason that shivcha zera of a zav is metame maga of a maso because of the kavachaymer from roik, which we had in Amun Aleph. That's the sort of the hidden message being presented by this Tana. You should know that it's metame maga of a maso, and here is the Tana that we're looking for. Okay, let's go back to this concept of dayay. Is there anybody that disagrees with dayay? So far we haven't found any, right? We know that Tarfon says sometimes, you can't reckon with dayay, but in concept he agrees with dayay. I'll find you a Tana. Here's a Tana, it doesn't know the dayay. Even though the dayay does not negate the kavachaymer, so there's no direct clash between the two, still he doesn't hold of dayay. The Sanya, here's a price. You have a maputz, which is a mat made of reeds, on which you can lie. You can use for like a mattress. Maputz b'meis minayin. How do we know that even though it's not really a garment, it's not a kli, right? It's not made of leather. It's not made of wood. It's just a flat mat. How do we know that it is susceptible? It could be makabel tumah from a mace. If it's sitting in an oil of a mace, right, under the same roof as a mace, it becomes tam. How do we know that? Ma puts b'meis minay. V'dinu, it's based on the kavachem. Uma pachem ketanim. You have small containers. Rashi says klei cheres, small earthenware, containers, pottery, very narrow openings. Shetohirim b'zav. They cannot accept tumah from a zav because Rashi says the opening is so teeny he can't even put his finger in. He can't access the interior of the klei cheres, and we know klei cheres is only going to be makabel tumah from inside, not from the outside. So he can't access the zav can't access the interior. So there's no way that the kli is makabel tumah from the zav. Still, you should know matame b'meis. A klei cheres is matame from a mace. It's sitting in a house with a mace. It becomes tame. The tumah sort of flies through the little narrow opening and makes it tame. So again, the pacham tanim that are protected from the zav, but are vulnerable to the mace. Certainly the maputz, this mat that we spoke about, shemetame b'zav, that can become tummy through a zav because if he lies on it, it's called mishkav azav. It makes it tummy. Ein udin shitam b'mace. Of course, it's vulnerable to tumas mace. The kamaisila, and based on this kavachaymer that we have just presented, we now applied what type of tumah to the maputz. Bein lu tumas erev, whether it's a 1-day tumah. Bein lu tumas shiva. So we say that it can become tameh, either a lighter tumah or a heavier tumah. Right? Basically, it has potential for every type of tumah. For instance, if it's sitting in oil mace, it becomes tameh for 7 days. Right? So if it can contract a lower tumah, but even a very severe tumah. So let's say an avat tumah touches it. Maybe it's only tummy for 1 day, but if it's sitting in an oil mace, it gets the highest form of tumah for 7 days. And this is based on the kavachaymer. V'amai, why? 1 second. What about dayay? Ema, we should say like this. Ahani kavachaymer tumas erev. We should say like this. Well, the mapats, which can accept tumah from a zav, once they hold it, stop right there. And how long is it going to be tummy for? For one day, tumas er until evening. So you know what? Granted, if it's sitting in oil hameis, it becomes tummy, but just for one day, dayay. V'hani dayay lafuki tumas shiva. Dayay will come and knock down tumas shiva. You can't be tummy for 7. No, you're going overboard. Amrle. So this was a question asked to Ravina. Here we go. A Tana does not hold of dayay. He generates a halacha through a kavachemer, resulting with a more strict and severe and a greater breadth than the source itself. So Ravina responds, this was asked to Rav Nachman, Labai to Abai. He asked the same question, but Abai responded, no. This does not contravene dayay. Tana mimapatz b'sheretz ma'isela. Because the Tana was actually learning it differently. He was learning from the halacha of mapatz, the mat, by the sheretz. Here we go. Bava Kamma, as follows: mapatz b'sheretz minai. He wasn't coming to learn mapatz by mace. He was coming to learn that a mapatz can become tummy from touching a sheretz. Mapatz b'sheretz minai. So Rashi explains that the mapats by the sheretz will we learn right now through the kavachemer, and the mapats by the mace that's going to come later from a gzera shava, not based on the kavachemer. Okay, mapats b'sheretz minai. How do we know that a mapats can become tummy through touching a sheretz? This is based on a kavachemer. Uma pachem tanan, right? Those small klei cheresh at hirim bezav. Not vulnerable to the zav, Thu May b'sheretz. Still, a little teeny, sheretz. Rashi says a sheretz can be smaller than the finger of a zav, even the size of a lentil. So it can sort of sneak right in, could slide right into the little narrow opening of the kli cheres. So that's how we get to the point of Thu May b'sheretz. Pacham tanik will come through a sheretz, even though it's tar by a zav, tummy by the sheretz. Mapas tummy b'zav, a mat which can become tummy through association with a zav, being used by a zav in a din, certainly you should tell me b'sheretz, it gets affected by the sheretz. So now we know through kavachemer, we know that just like the mapatz becomes tummy through a zav, a 1-day tumah. Same thing happens if he comes in contact with a sheretz, 1-day tumah. So it's a fair deal, 1 day. Now we go to the next level. Mapatz b'meis minan. How do we know that a mapatz can become tummy by a mace, and now it's for 7 days? Not based on kavachemer. That would be problematic. It's not based on kavachemer. Now how do we know that? Shnemar beged v'or b'sheretz. We have the term beged and a garment, leather, by the tumah of sheretz. We have a pasuk there. V'nemar beged v'or, the same loshen b'meis, by tumas mace. We connect the two through gzera shava. Ma beged v'or ha'omer b'sheretz. Ma pit tummy, just like by the sheretz, which has the loshen beged v'or. We know that a maputz becomes tummy there. As we said a minute ago through the kavachemer. Af beged v'or ha'omer b'meis. Ma b's tummy boy. Here we go. So now we have gzera shava. Just like mapats can become tummy by a sheretz, likewise can become tummy by a mace, and it's based on a gzera shava. Therefore, you can't, ask, well, dayay, it's not based on kavachemer. So, although the mapats by the sheretz is only tummy tumas erev, but by the mace it's tummy shema shiva. So, let's do more 1 second before you go away. Mufna. Evidently, this gzera shava is free and available, meaning the words being used for the gzera shava are specifically earmarked and designated for this purpose. Why? Why are you saying that? Because otherwise, you can try to refute the kavachemer. But if they're free and available for the kavachemer, it's as though Rashi explains many times. It's as though the pasuk actually said it right over here. So that's what mufna does to us. It disallows any sort of, opposition to the gzera shava. Because otherwise, you can say like this: we can sort of differentiate between sheretz and tumas mace. You think mace is the most severe tumah? No, not necessarily. Mala sheretz. Perhaps sheretz has a severity over mace. Shekein metame b'kadasha. You need a less amount of a sheretz metame, the size of a lentil. Tenor of mace as opposed to mace. Shekein metame b'kadasha. Kadasha is not enough. You need kazayis. Elba kazayis. La'ai, correct. Afni mufner. Obviously, yes. The words here are free and available, which creates a bona fide, irrefutable gzera shava. Why? Why is it available? Michti. Let's analyze the pasuk again. Sheretz iskash l'shich vazer. We find elsewhere that sheretz, Tuma Sheretz is connected to the Tuma Shechazera, the Chsiv, Ayisha Shetetz Menu, it's Shechazera, Samachlei, next to it says Ayisha Sheikab Chal Sheretz. So we have a connection between Sheretz and Shechazera. Now, Uksibi Shechazera, ready by Shechazera, we have a positive, Chal Beged Chal Or, Ashiyel Shechazera. So we have the description of the Beged, the Or, they're vulnerable to Shechazera. And once we know that Sheretz and Shechazera are sort of in the same boat, so that leads to the question: Beged v'or dukas rachmana b'sheretz lamidi. Why does the Torah have to repeat that a sheretz can matame beged v'or? We know that already from the fact that he's going to relate to shechazera, which has that ability. So these words beged v'or are totally extra and superfluous to allow for irrefutable gzerah between sheretz and tumas meis regarding the tumas maputz. 1 second, kati mufnim tzad echadu, but it's only available on one side. Meaning you've just proven that beged v'or by sheretz is available. It's unnecessary, so you have a free, available Gzerah Shava, but only on one side of the equation you were connecting Sheretz, so there it's available, but by Mace, the words are not free and available. So that works fine according to the Shita, that if you have a mufna on one side of the Gzerah Shava, one side is totally free and available, so Lameidim allows us to derive a Meshivim without refuting. Shab, so you're good to go. But according to the Shita, it says, unless it's totally free and available on both sides, you can try to learn it out, but you can refute it if you have a way to do so. Michael Amos, now we're stuck. What right do we have to compare Mace, which needs a Kazayas, to Sheretz, which only needs a Kadosha? Answer is, the Mace Nami Afnui Mufna. The term Beged Ba'er by Mace is also available, also extra. Why? Michti, let's take a close look here. Meis iskash shechvazer. We find elsewhere that meis and shechvazer go together. Okay, so we have that connection. We know that shechvazer already says these lashonis. So now, once we know that by shechvazer and we know meis is connected, so now beged va'or because rachmana meis. Why does the pasuk have to repeat beged va'or by meis? It's extra. It's totally extra on both sides now. On the Mace side and on the Sheretz side. Okay, great. So we have a mufna on both sides. And there we go. We lock up the Gzerah Shava. And now we know that Mapatz is Matame not only by Sheretz, but also by Mace. Says the Gemara. This is based on the fact that the words Beged Ba'or by Mace are unnecessary because they can be learned out of Shechvazar, right? Hold it. Says, well, 1 second. This is all good and well according to the Shita. When you import something, let's say, A, in this case, A is, let's say, Mace. Importing from the Alach of Shechvazera, let's call it B. A is importing from B that just like there, Beged Ba'or is Tama here as well. So you learn from there. You bring it back home. You import it back into the context of Tumas Mace. And whatever Allah has applied to other Tumas Meis, which is a 70 Tumah, applies to Beged Var. So then you're good. So it could have all been learned from there. There's no reason for the Torah to repeat it, and you're with an extra phrase, which allows us for the Gzerah Shava, Mufna, etc. According to the other Shita, which says, sure, you can learn, feel free to learn from B. But you have to stick to B. You have to bring it in totally. Full package. Michael Amemers, now we're stuck, because basically, if you're going to learn Beged Var from where? From Shechvazera to Mace, well, then it has to conform to the lachas of Shechvazera. It's only a one-day Tumah. Amar Ravana. That's not a kash. Amar Kra. V'chibasta bigdechem by mashvi, and then it says V'teharu. It's an extra lashon, V'teharu. To tell you, Tahara is achieved, with respect to Tumas Mace, Tahara is achieved by a 7-day process period. It's an absolute process. No discounts. Any tumah you experience by mace, it's never less than 7 days. So bottom line is, so whether it's an item discussed locally, whether it's imported from elsewhere, it's still going to conform to the same guidelines, 7-day tumah. So there's no reason to hesitate to learn something from elsewhere and bring it in here. So basically it's an extra pasuk. Beged Ba'er is an extra pasuk, which allows for this open-sided Gzerah Shava, Mufna Mishnei Tzadim, totally available. And we know the Mapatz is Metame by the Mace as well. So we thought we found a Shita which did not hold up Dayay. Turns out that we're all safe and sound. So that's really the topic of today's Sugya. We learn from Kal V'chomer many times, but there's a halacha called Daya. You can't go past the source. We thought there was some dissenting view. We did not discover any dissenting view. However, we did find that Rabbi Tarfon held that Daya is somewhat limited, and is only applied when the Kal V'chomer will still have something to say for itself, as opposed to the case of the Keren, where without a Kal V'chomer, I would also be responsible for the Keren in Rosh Hashanah. So why do we need a Kal V'chomer? Oh, but then the Kal V'chomer is now going to upgrade it from Chatzi Nezek to Nezek Shalom. All the best to you and Hatzlacha Rabbah.